Hey everyone, this is Kate, and I'm going to walk you through creating an outline using a thesis and topic sentence. Basically, this is just a review of what you've just gone over in your notes in that PowerPoint, but I think it always helps to get it in multiple venues, and some of you are more visual and audio learners, and so it might help to kind of see me going through the process and hear me talking about it. So let's go over the steps again. So first there's step 1. So you have to kind of figure out, is it an open topic or closed topic? Meaning, if you get to choose whatever you want, then it's an open topic. But if the instructor or professor has given you a specific question, then it's a closed topic. Once you know if it's an open or closed topic, you move on to step 2, because you will be creating a thesis. So if it is an open topic, then you're going to use these questions right below it to kind of get your mind thinking about what should your topic be, what is your opinion about that topic, and what is your rationale for having that opinion. If it is a closed topic, then you will use these questions to kind of get you going and create a thesis from there. Once you have your thesis, you will move on to step 3, and you will brainstorm at least 3 reasons that a person should trust or believe your claim. And you do this every time whether you talk to your family or you talk to your friends, you make a statement and they're like, well, why do you say that? And every time you start listing reasons, those in an essay form could be possible topic sentences. Finally, once you've kind of looked at your thesis and brainstormed possible topic sentence, you need to go back and make sure that your outline actually makes sense. If anything sounds awkward or seems off topic, then you need to edit. Don't assume that everything that you wrote the first time will make sense. In fact, more than likely, it won't. And that's not a diss on you guys. That's just writers in general. I have to go back and edit every time. And I've published before, and I still have to do it. The first time that you write down something, it tends to be more kind of verbal barf, and then after that you just clean things up and make it look and sound nice, professional, and academic, which is what you want. So that's all great, right? So what does this actually look like? So I want to go through the steps with you. So for this particular me walking through this particular one, I'm going to assume that it's a closed topic, since later on this week you will have to answer a closed topic. So I kind of want to have you see me walk through a closed topic. But an open topic is really not that different. It's just where you generate your thesis from. So it's a closed topic. So I'm going to use these questions. So I answer the question, what is the question? In this case, I had the question be, should America do a military strike on Syria? I just did that because it's all over the news all of the time, and it's on my mind. So that is the question that I'm pretending is the question for the assignment. Then I move on to the next question, which would be, how would you answer that question in a complete sentence? So basically, what is my opinion on this question? And I have fluctuated back and forth depending on the day or the information I hear, and right now, this is my opinion. I think America should not do a military strike on Syria. Feel free to debate me. I really don't know. I'm not versed in military things, but that's my current opinion. Finally, I'm going to look at this question. It says, what is my rationale for that answer? And so right now, my general rationale is America should not do a military strike on Syria because of the likelihood of negative repercussions. And so look and see how I put this all together, that I have the answer to that question and a general reason why, all in the thesis. Please make sure you have that in your own thesis. Then I'm going to move on to step 3. And I have to brainstorm at least 3 reasons that someone should trust or believe my claim. How can I convince somebody that yes, there is a likelihood of negative repercussions? Why should somebody believe that statement? Why should they trust me? And so I'm just going to start brainstorming. And in this case, I brainstormed 4 reasons. So one, I had Syria's leader threatens retaliation if the U.S. attacks. 2, I had the Syrian government might not even be guilty of the chemical attacks on its own people. 3, I had the U.S. might strain its relationship with other influential countries such as Russia. And 4, I'm sick of America being at war. So these are all just 4 things that I brainstormed. And so now I'm going to actually go through and do the editing live. Everything else I've kind of done ahead of time. But this I'm going to do live because I really want you to kind of see my thinking and the importance of going through and editing. So first thing I'm going to do is go back up and I'm going to copy my thesis so that I can remember what exactly is my main focus. And so I'm just going to paste it right there so that I have it. And I'm going to move it back over or try and do that. Okay, so this is my main thesis. America should not do a military strike on Syria because of the likelihood of negative repercussions. Great. So I'm going to look at my first topic sentence, or my first rationale. And I have Syria's leader threatens retaliation if the U.S. attacks. Does that make sense? Yes. Does it go with my thesis? Is it a possible negative repercussion? Yeah. If somebody attacks the U.S., that sucks. That's a possible negative repercussion. This is good, so I can put a check mark, I can bold it, or whatever you're going to do to remind yourself that yes, I looked at this and I know it's good. And then I'm going to look at this next one. The Syrian government might not even be guilty of the chemical attacks on its own people. Does it make sense? Is it on topic? Yes, it goes with the topic, but is it actually a negative repercussion? Not exactly. It's making making a connection to the thesis, but it's not actually a negative repercussion. So I need to turn this into a negative consequence of us attacking. So I can put, since the Syrian government might not even be guilty of the chemical attacks on its own people, the U.S. Might look uninformed if sorry, this is difficult because I'm doing this as I go. The U.S. might look uninformed if uninformed and let's see. Oh, see, I struggle with this stuff too. And uninformed and irresponsible. Responsible if we attack and later find out that it was not the Syrian government. Okay, so you can see it's tricky to do this. Even I, like when put on the spot, I kind of stumble and things like that as well. And I might even go back and make sure this is worded exactly the way I want to get. But hopefully you can see how actually looking uninformed and irresponsible is more of a negative consequence than just saying they might not even be guilty of chemical attacks. It's really hard making sure you stay on topic and stay on focus. So you always have to go back to your thesis. Then I look at the U.S. might strain its relationship with other influential countries such as Russia. Yeah, that's a negative consequence, so that one is good. I'm going to go ahead and bold that. And finally, I'm going to look at this last one. I'm sick of America being at war. Well, while that might be true, it is not relevant. It is my opinion. It's not very rational. It's not very academic. It's going to sound like I'm just talking very uninformed. And so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one. So I'm crossing that one out. So I might stick with these 3, or I might go back later and brainstorm some other ones if I need a longer paper and more support for my opinion. So you always have to look back at your thesis. Now, if all of your supports are not supporting your thesis, then maybe you need to revamp your thesis, and that does happen as well. A lot of the times the thesis is the most difficult part, so the main thing to know is you have to just go back, and it should kind of look like a mirror. This support should connect to your thesis, and this thesis should connect to your support. And really, once you have that, this right here is a good outline. So hopefully this helps you, and if you have any questions, then just let me know.